Okay, hello and welcome everybody. This is going to be an informational video for the upcoming DLC which has just been announced in Rally Point 23. This one's called Wrath of Sparta. I'm going to do it in, I'm going to read through this information here, and then I'll have the video in the background of Rally Point 23, and then I'll go over the factions which have been announced for this. This is not going to be like a culture pack or anything. This is pretty much like Hannibal the Gates and Caesar and Gaul campaign. This is what people have been expecting because people have data mined the data, but this is going to cover the Polynesian Wars, and I was going to go over quickly details and then we'll watch the video. Okay, so in this is also got some Total War Attila stuff gameplay in it as well, so it's not just the DLC, so I'll go over that as well. So, the Wrath of Sparta features new campaign map. The earliest period any Total War game is depicted. Wrath of Sparta's campaign map is a vivid and detailed representation of the Greek world in 432 BC, featuring 22 provinces across 78 regions. So basically this is going to be zoomed in Greece and obviously surrounding areas of the campaign map, covering the Greek mainland, islands and the Ionian coast. The map brings 12 wonders to light, including the ruins of Troy, which is going to be cool, the Temple of Zeus and the royal tombs of Macedon. Furthermore, as the campaign features a tighter time frame than the Rome 2 Grand Campaign, each turn represents 1 month. And I think, I'll go over this in a second, I think it's actually 12 turns a year. So yeah, well duh, it makes sense, each turn represents, yeah, so it's 12, that sounds retarded of me just saying that, if I just read that. So yeah, obviously you get 12 turns per year. 4 playable factions. We've got Athens, which obviously currently in the Greeks culture pack you can get. Corinth, Sparta, which is again in the Grand Campaign or the Greeks culture pack, and the Biatonian League, all playable in the Wrath of Sparta. Each bring in its own faction traits, unique rosters, challenges and geographical starting point. In addition, famous generals and statesmen of history appear throughout the campaign, such as the Spartan general Lysander and the Athenian dignitary Socrates. In homage to the historical strength, Sparta can field a greater variety of troops than other factions to reflect its mastery in land warfare, while Athens has the roster advantage in naval warfare. So we've got the Panhellenic Games and Festivals. The Greeks of the age were keen athletes of obviously the original Olympics, and the annual competitions of the Olympic, Pythian, Siphomean and Nemean games are represented. With each is held throughout the yearly calendar, you'll have a number of choices to make. Do you sponsor an athlete, back a competitor, send an envoy or do nothing? Each choice can bring you favour or misfortune. Likewise, the Greek calendar is packed with religious festivals which bring their own campaign bonuses and benefits and bring the flavour of the age to life. That sounds pretty cool. That's interesting. New tech trees. Wrath of Sparta features all new tech trees, reflecting the military, naval and civic developments of the time. These 6 branches enabled the player to advance in the fields of military, naval and support technologies, philosophy, aesthetics and mathematics. Hellenistic tribalism. With the exception of the Persian Empire, which I don't know if they're a playable faction, but they will be kind of like Attila the Hun in obviously Total War Attila. They will be a threat further on, so we can relive 300. We can fight for Sparta and Greece. But anyways, factions represent the Wrath of Sparta are culturally Hellenistic, so culture is being replaced with tribalism. Each faction belongs to one of the Greek tribes, and while the 4 playable factions won't suffer from public unrest due to the presence of other Greek tribes, they will suffer major diplomatic penalties with factions that were not true Greeks. Obviously, we've been told the 4 factions you can play as, but they may release the Persians. I do not know, but to be honest, it's probably just what this is going to be. The release date for this DLC is on December the 16th as well, so it's not too long, about a week and a half, something like that. It's just, you know, lead up before Christmas, which is pretty cool, which I will be doing a campaign of as well, especially with my Spartacus Rises campaign finishing this week. I'm just going to wait until obviously this is released and I will do a campaign for this as well. I'll have to see what other YouTubers are doing, but obviously quite a few people will be playing as Sparta, but I think I might play as the Biatonian League or Corinth, I think, because these 2 are normally in the campaign anyways, so I'll probably play as either of them 2, but we'll do a faction vote for that. Anyways, let's get back to this. Persian threat. The Empire of Persia sits at the eastern end of the campaign map and remains largely uninvolved with Greek affairs. However, when one Greek state rises to dominate all others, the Persians will escalate their military involvement over time, in a growing effort to bring the power to heel. New army and naval unit rosters. New unit rosters are available for all 4 playable factions representing warfare of the period in Greek history. The Greek factions feature a heavy emphasis on hoplites, with supporting elements to react to different combat scenarios and bring in tactical variety. There are fewer but more specialised units of mercenaries available to swiftly bolster and bring greater flexibility to armies, and these are more widely available across the provinces. The backbone of Greek naval assets is composed of tactical variations of the Dearies and Tiraries hull types, with a greater focus on ramming and boarding. In addition, troop transports act more as cargo ships than combat vessels and are no longer able to ram in naval battles, reducing the unfair advantage of troop convoys in naval warfare. So that's quite interesting as well. This change will be retroactively applied to Rome 2 campaigns as well. Almost over 50 new naval and land units for Wrath of Sparta. You will encounter specialist and legendary troops such as the Immortal Spearmen. Yes! Spartan hoplites and the Skiratai. Okay, so that's that. I was going to end this section here and I'll have the rally point video in the background now, and I'll go through the details of some of the DLC and then Total War Attila, and then we'll come back to the factions. May do the factions after this, but we shall see. Okay, now we're going to go over the faction overviews for the... They say 4 new factions. Obviously Sparta and Athens are always been in it if you've got the culture pack for them, but I assume there's probably different dialogue for these because obviously it's for the campaign map and situation it's going to be, but I'll go through one at a time, and we're going to start with Sparta. Obviously everyone knows Sparta's starting point, which is obviously going to be the south of Greece. Okay. An entirely militarised culture, the Spartans are truly a force to be reckoned with. However, despite Sparta's command of Greek forces during the recent Greco-Persian Wars and its noble sacrifice at Thermopylae, Athens' own victories have dramatically increased its prestige, and war with Persia is high on its agenda. Although Sparta may not be sufficiently recovered to face the Persians, with allies such as Corinth, it could yet defeat Athens and the Delian League states. To do this, Sparta's Peloponnesian League must achieve a decisive naval victory against Athens and break the loyalty of its allies. This may not be straightforward, however Spartan land forces may be supreme, but Athens' navy is undefeated, and for the Spartans, the ultimate warriors, intrigue and espionage leave a foul taste. Spartan domination of the Helot people means that they command an abundant and durable slave population. These thralls manage the lesser matters in life, agricultural, craftsmanship and so forth. Freeing true Spartans pursue an existence of marital perfection. With one of the most exacting and grueling military training regimes in the ancient world, Sparta produces veteran warriors before they even reach the battlefield. So yeah, obviously a little bit different here. So obviously the key factor with the Spartans is obviously they're going to be better at land engagements than Athens, who obviously be rubbish at land engagements, but be better at naval. So obviously, their pros land, Athens' pros is naval. So let's read Athens now. Obviously, Athens are going to be, they've got 2 settlements by the looks of thing here, Athens and Kalakis, and they have one here at Torone. Oh, they've actually got quite a few then, so they've got some, but this must be the league thing that I was talking about here, but we'll read this now. So it looks like they've actually got 4 to 5 settlements. Athens' aid to the Greek cities of Asia Minor has prompted imperialist Persia to invade mainland Greece twice. Each time Athens proved pivotal to its defeat, winning a stunning final naval victory at Salamis in 479 BC. Its prestige at an all-time high. Athenian military hegemony, as well as trade and cultural supremacy, now seems likely, and with its chance for revenge. This state of affairs is, of course, how it should be. Athens leads the Greek world in mathematics, science, philosophy, and architecture. It should be a protector also. However, Sparta resents this newfound influence. Just 50 years after the end of the Persian invasions, war once again looms over the Peloponnesus. The prize is effective control over the entire country. Athens' naval might is matched by Sparta's superior land forces. Either city, or indeed its Corinthian or Balaton allies, could emerge from the ensuing conflict victorious to claim it. The centre of learning in this ancient world, Athens profits well from its cultural exports, and its naval supremacy means it's geared for greater naval production capacity than its neighbours. However, it dreams of a great Athenian empire across Greece and dwindling, and the happiness of the people with it. God, I can't read today. So yeah, you go. Release date December 16th, and you can pre-order it here. And this is one of the factions I will be playing as, Bilatonian League or Corinth. Okay, so obviously they're right next to Athens itself, and obviously pretty much, well, they're near both of them, but occupying a position of strategic importance on the Gulf of Corinth, Bilatonian has strong frontiers and trade connections across the region. Phoebe, which is obviously, you've only got that one settlement, so this must be a hard start for these guys, is a predominant city and capital of the Bilatonian League, with religious confederation at first, but is now chiefly concerned with mutual defence. The city's surprising support of Persia during its second invasion caused Phoebe's temporary displacement in the League's leader before perceived Athenian imperialism led to its reinstatement by Sparta. 10 years of Athenian occupation followed before the Bilatonians won the independence at the Battle of Corinea. Despite a negotiated peace, the reformed Bilatonian League's enmity towards Athenian continues unabated. Now fueled by its rivals' interference in Corinthian colonial matters, the Bilatonians are poised, along with its allies Sparta and Corinth, to end Athenians' empire building once and for all. As a sworn rival to Athens, Bilatonian, I can't even pronounce them, suffers in diplomatic relations with the pro-Athenian tribes of Ionia. However, its newly returned pride and sense of stature in the world drives its warriors to great acts of heroism on the battlefield. So obviously these guys, I haven't been looking at the units as well. They've obviously got cavalry units in this one. These guys obviously are going to be straight away being attacked by Athens, and obviously diplomatic relations with the factions that Athens are allied with or friendly with are going to be pissed off of them. But you have Sparta and Corinth to back you up, so it's not all it's not all scary. But that could potentially be a good campaign. It's going to be a harder start for that as well. And then we've got Corinth, probably the same thing, but they've actually got two settlements to start with. Corinth, which is a buffer zone between Sparta and Athens, and you've got one over here which be Epirus, and may potentially be one up there because that's yellow as well. Okay, unified under an oligarchical system of government, Corinth has become rich from trade due to its geographical position. This wealth has helped Corinth to launch public construction projects on a large scale and forge colonies far afield as Sicily. Following a period of tyranny, it allied with Sparta, fighting to repel the Persian invasions as part of the Hellenistic League. Although Corinth supported the Athenians during the Greco-Persian Wars, Athens' backing of the rebel colony of Corcyra in its struggle against Corinth has caused hostilities to break out between the two great cities. A naval confrontation is sure to ensue, so Corinth will need a strong fleet if it is to deny Athenian naval supremacy. Yet Corinth's sizable citizen army also makes it a dangerous proposition on land, and far more than a mere foil to expected Spartan battle supremacy. Standing in its industrial shadow of Athens, Corinth's export economy suffers. However, its proud maritime heritage makes for well-trained sailors and swifter ships, and the Corinthian devout worship of the Aphrodite makes for a most abundant population. And obviously here it looks like they've got hot potato units or spear units as their ones. Let's go back quickly to Sparta and Athens to look at theirs. I forgot to look at them. Obviously your standard 300 spear units, stab and then go back into the formation. And then Athens, I assume, is probably like a naval unit. Yeah. So obviously even with the Corinth, sounds like they've got quite strong naval things, but there will be faster ships compared to Athens and stuff like that. So there's obviously pros and cons. But I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all in the next video. Okay, we're just going to go over a few details for the Wrath of Sparta. This is the campaign map you can see here in the background. Obviously it's going to show you the provinces where you start off, some of them self-explanatory, Sparta and so forth. He's obviously talking about what kind of added features they've got there with the tech trees, the units. And it's cool to see it, and you can see the map in the right hand corner. So this is where it's going to be zoomed in for. We've got 78 provinces, I think he's saying, or settlements. but it's in this map. So it goes into obviously Turkey as well, so it goes across to there, to the Asia Minor. So it's not just Greece itself. And then so you've got the 4 papal factions, as you can see there. From what we've been reading as well, the Persians will be a threat near the end, so depending on how well you do in the campaign. Here you go, 78 region custom campaign. 78 custom campaign regions. But yeah, they will be a threat later on in the campaign. So say for instance Sparta's ruled most of the map. You've taken out Athens, and then you've got Corinth and the Byzantine League allied with you. The Persians will come over and try and kill you all, obviously, like they did in history. That's some of the Spartan units, as you can see there, the classic 300. So that's pretty much this information of the video, and then they'll talk for a little bit, talking about Franco Jam as well. So if you guys didn't know, obviously someone that they all knew at CA passed away due to cancer. And they've done a jam before that. They made some games, etc., and raised some charity for the cause or the people that helped him out during these last days. So it's obviously all for good cause. That was going on for the whole weekend, I think it was, and they're obviously streaming CA games that he worked on. This guy, I actually forget his name, so I feel a bit bad for that. But rest in peace. And now this is obviously the Total War Attila information. They're going to go over the campaign map, and they're going to show you Constantinople as well. I've put a few captions in the background for this upcoming bit. It shows some of the factions that will be in the campaign. Unplayable factions this is. Obviously we already know some of them from the faction releases that they've done on Total War Wiki. But you'll see in the background, you've got some previous factions from the Rome 2 campaign itself, and then you've got the unplayable factions, which obviously specific for Total War Attila. These are the Rome 2 factions that are going to appear again. One of them is the Nabatae, which I think is just pronounced differently, and these are the factions which are unplayable, which I could see in the campaign map, but it's just in that section. Obviously, they go over the details of where you are. You start off, I think, with 7 armies. You have the Visigoths with 2 full army stacks outside the area of Constantinople itself. So obviously, you've got to deal with them first off. You've got your other armies in the eastern part of the map against the Sassanids. Oh my fucking god, I love Will. And you got the Sassanids in the eastern part of the map as well, so you got to take them out. But this is obviously going over the Eastern Roman Empire, and then it shows obviously all the beauty of Constantinople, which looks bloody amazing, and I cannot wait to siege that myself. It shows obviously a lot more details than we had before. It will show the campaign map a little bit, and this part they're actually talking about the zone of control. So previous titles, obviously, you have the red bubble around an army or around the settlement. As you can see here, it's on fire because obviously they're going with the apocalyptic theme of the Huns, etc., which I think is a pretty cool little feature. Let's see what else. We'll go into some more detail in a minute, and then obviously they'll show Constantinople itself. They're talking about the wall in this part here. Obviously, historically, Constantinople had one huge wall, and then after that they started putting different miniature, well, I wouldn't say miniature, but smaller walls outside of it, so they can obviously withstand the siege. Because where they are, they're kind of cutting it from the port side, and then obviously they're only on the edge of the land mass there, so there's no way of escape from the land side of it, but they can obviously get trade or food supplies from the sea. If they get blockaded and then obviously sieged, then they'll be pretty stuffed, but that was the plan, which is modern day Istanbul pretty much now, which is where Constantinople is. So you've got the Europe meets Asia. I'm trying to think what else they're talking about in this bit, but it's pretty much about the city. They also mention later on at the end that there is more factions to be revealed for Total War Attila, so the Huns may still be playable, so watch this space. I reckon it probably will be, to be perfectly honest, probably as a DLC of the DLC. Well, this is expansion, it's a little bit different, but there will be DLC microtransactions. I'll put any money on it. For the Samurai, previous expansion games by CA had previous things like that, so it wouldn't surprise me if you have to pay as a bloody Huns or something. And now obviously they're going to show you Constantinople itself on the battle map. As you can see, you've got the literally impenetrable walls. They've got towers, multiple towers going down the side of it. You've obviously got the miniature wall there, or the ramp, and then you've got the moat itself. So that's the three walls. Obviously, in real life, it'd probably be a little bit different to that, but obviously they've got to try and create it in the game and see how formidable that is. They also talk about siege escalation. So obviously at the moment, this is when it's pristine. There's been no siege. The person's probably just come to attack straight away. They haven't sieged or anything. So if you siege this settlement for like 6 turns, obviously some walls would be destroyed, parts of it. He also talks about this is probably the best point to attack, where this certain side gate. But if you're obviously defending, you have men on the wall and you have this choke point here. So if your units went through, you'd obviously put some spear units here and you choke them until you get rid of some of their units. He also mentions that you could, in theory, have a land battle inside of the settlements because it's a forested area, so you can throw javelins, set up javelin men to fire from there and stuff like that. Like you would in previous land battles, etc. You can also have an amphibious assault, so you could land on 2 separate areas in the port area, but obviously same again, you could, if you were savvy that someone was doing that when you was defending, you could put some units there. Obviously you got to look at the previous Battle of Londinium, that you can have, I didn't mention this, but obviously self-explanatory, you can put obviously battlements inside of your settlement. Do you know when you had the choke points in the Battle of Londinium, you could put the miniature walls there. They've obviously really gone into so much detail. They've got some of the key features of the time. I think it's the Hagia Sophia, which basically, like, obviously this is supposed to be religious, but I think that's actually the control point, is that building there. And you've got Circus Maximus. And another thing which I think is really cool, and they probably will help, as you can see there's people. There will be civilians in this, so they may potentially put out fires and so forth. If you've gone into siege escalation mode, like someone's sieged you for 6-7 turns, this is not going to be all pristine and nice. Things will be on fire because they've got the fire mechanics. It's just going to be really cool. There's multiple choke points. If you're defending a wall and the wall gets breached, which, you know, most likely if you're going up against a decent counterpart, AI or so forth, you can obviously retreat back to these lanes here. You can do choke points, you can fire volleys, you name it. You can do certain things. Even the civilians could help you because they don't want to be captured themselves. This is the statue or column of Constantine. So they've gone into a lot of detail, and this is just for Constantinople. Obviously, this is probably one of the bigger things, like Rome was in Rome 2. They've obviously gone into detail for that, and Carthage as well. But this is one of the bigger ones. And they talk about here, like, this could be a good choke point, or imagine your men running down this lane into the centre there. So there's multiple things you could do. That's obviously the tactical map of Constantinople, which is huge. And I'm just looking forward to actually be on defending or the attacking side, just taking it out. And this is the part where they obviously mention that not all is being revealed for Total War Attila. There will be other factions or faction which shall be revealed. But my money is on the Huns. There's a lot of outrage that you can't play as the Huns, and I think they'd be pretty stupid if they didn't. There's my piece. I hope you enjoyed this part of the video, and obviously now we will go over to the factions, which are for the DLC for the Greeks Empire. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next part.